Bonjour, Kinamagi Nene Ireland Indigenous, and welcome to today's production of the My Math Network. Today's topic from Chapter 9, Lesson 2, Add Like Fractions. We'll begin by looking at Lesson 1's homework, as is our standard. And we were going to round to the benchmark fractions of 0, 1/2, or 1. Essentially, if it would be closer on a number line to 0, that's where we would round it. If it's in the middle, closer to the middle, we go to 1/2. If it's further to the right, with a 1. And you can see our benchmarks right here. When creating a number line, if necessary, you want as many tallies as there are in your denominator. And you'll notice that because it's an odd number, there's a 1/2 is kind of right in the middle. It's at 5.5. So 5/9 base, if you can look at that and say that's almost the middle. 4.5/9 would be right there. So it's closer to a half. 1 is a very tiny piece of 14, so it's a 0. 12 is almost a 13, so it's a 1. 2/13 is still pretty close to 0. 9/11 pretty close to 1. And 9/17 is pretty close to 1/2. The only three answers possible were 0, 1/2, and 1. It's rare that you'll do that, by the way. All right, Kevin ate 5/12 of a pizza. So if you had a pizza with 12 slices, he ate 5 of it. He ate about half the pizza. Darius has mowed a fifth of his backyard. What is a better estimate of how much is left to mow? Now, this is where in this chapter, it's going to be important that you can subtract fractions, because if he's only done 1/5, he's done very little of it. Well, depending on the size of the lawn, but let's say he's done very little of it, rounds to 0. It means he has about or almost all of the lawn left. And you can see that I get that phrasing right here. So there were 2 choices here. So multiple steps, but that's common in math. Cooper is studying 2 fractions that are both less than 1. First fraction has a denominator of 4 and rounds to 1. Second fraction has a denominator of 6 and the same numerator as the first fraction. Is the second fraction closest to 1, 1/2, or 1? If you had 4/4, you're at 1. So we know that this has to be 3/4. There's no other option because 2/4 is literally 1/2. And if you were to keep that 3/6, that rounds to a half, because the equivalent fraction of 3/6 is 1/2. That's its simplest form. Savannah is making a quilt with squares that have side lengths of 15/16 of a foot. Are the side lengths of the squares closer to 1/2 foot or 1 foot? You could draw a diagram to support your answer, but the answer is going to be closer to 1 foot. Test practice, shaded 3/7 of her design, so you can see the shaded in colors. What is the best estimate for the shaded part? We did nothing with 1/7 in this entire lesson, so ignore that. It's very clearly not 0 shaded in, but it's about half. One more piece here would have made it exactly half, so we'd round to 1/2. Let's look at what today's assignment will look like so we know what we're doing here. We're going to be adding like fractions. And this actually turns out to be one of the easier topics. So on here, you're going to write each sum in simplest form. So when you get to that, be careful. If you get an answer of 6/10, for instance, you can't leave that as an answer, because 6 and 10, they have a common factor that is greater than 1. So you would have had to then divide top and bottom by 2 and get 3/5. So although you may have been dealing with a 10, it is possible that you will have to simplify. Not all of these will require simplification. problem solving, use this table here. And you notice that everything's over 18. So that's going to be your original denominator. Do remember to write in simplest form. Same thing on number 8. You have a brain builder here. It says draw a model, and you can draw it somewhere off on the side here. And a vocabulary check. Vocabulary check will come from, that answer will be on page 619. That's usually where you'll find most of the vocabulary, is the first page of the lesson. We'll talk about that in just a second. And then you see your test practice. So with adding like fractions, the essential question in chapter 9 is, how can equivalent fractions help me add and subtract fractions? Simply put, you need equivalent fractions to be able to get addition and subtraction problems that have common denominators. Otherwise, this isn't going to be a thing today. Let me begin here with the part that is not in the textbook. How do I add like fractions? Long story short, I add the numerators. So let's get a pencil. Go 3/5 plus 1/5. So I add the numerators. Numerators are the top numbers. 3 plus 1 is 4. I do not add the denominators, nor will I ever subtract them. What did I say? Do not add the denominators. Ever. No, not even then. No, still no. Nope, nope. Yet. Gawin. 9. Whatever language you need to hear, no, don't add them. Because essentially, if you have a picture, here's my 2 pizzas. 1, 2, 3. Sorriest looking pizza I've ever seen, though. I'm not gonna lie. Because if I had 3 slices in this one that I ate, and 1 over here, I ended up eating 4. So I'm gonna take that and go right here. I had the 4/5 eaten. If I add it, it'd be 4/10. And I ate it all. I'm eating a part to whole. I ate 4/5 of a pizza. Very believable. Not a good idea, but believable. Do not ever add the denominators, nor should you subtract them. I feel like you will hear that come out of my mouth 3,287,356 more times during chapter 9. So I'm going to go ahead and clear my drawings. What do I do? How do I add the denominators? I don't. Okay, moving on, still in my portion, not in your book. Joy mowed 1/6 of her lawn on a Saturday. She mowed 3/6 on Sunday. How much of her lawn has Joy mowed altogether? It's an interesting system for mowing the lawn. So I go here and I add 1 plus 3. And I do not ever add the denominator. So I just write a 6 here. Now 4/6, here's another way to write it, can be simplified. They are both even. That means they can top and bottom be divided by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So my simplest form is 2/3. So 1/6 plus 3/6 equals 2/3. Okay, go ahead and clear that drawing. You see the answer. One more. Add 5/8 plus 2/8 plus 7/8. Write the sum in simplest form. They're really trying to give you guys a hard time on lesson 2 of this unit. All right. Add the numerators to find the sum of the 3 fractions. 5 plus 2 is 7, plus 7 is 14. 8 plus 8 plus 8. No, don't add those. Just write 8. Ta-da. So much easier than adding them. So now I need, this is an improper fraction. Anytime the top number is as large or greater than the denominator, I can't do it that way. So let's have our 14/8 just so we can see it. Now 14/8, I could do it a couple different ways. I could go and do a traditional division problem. 8 goes into 14 how many times? 1. So here becomes my whole number of 1. 1 times 8 is 8. I subtract, I get a 6. So my remainder of 6 becomes my numerator. And my divisor becomes my denominator. Notice it stays the 8. I have 1 6/8. When I write this in simplest form, I'm not changing the whole number. It's good to go. But 6 and 8 have a greatest common factor of 2. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So my answer is 1 3/4. You could have drawn pictures and models to do this as well, but the answer is 1 3/4. So 5/8 plus 2/8 plus 7/8 is 1 3/4. Or you could even say that 1 3/4. All right, let's get into the textbook. You should have your book open to page 619 if you're at home. It is expected that you fill this in as you work through the video. One thing I will say is that normally I will say I'm about to clear the screen. That gives you 1 or 2 seconds to pause the video. If you're still writing, you have control of that at home. Sometimes I will ask you to complete a couple practice questions. That's where you'll pause the video, solve the question, and then come back and unpause the video. You should have these all filled in as we go, as this creates an artifact that you can use in order to be able to look back on it when answering. And page 619 starts with a vocabulary word, like fractions. No, they are not like Instagram likes or Facebook likes. Like fractions are fractions with the same denominator. So as you look right here, 5/6 and 5/6, they both have a denominator of 6, so they are like fractions. Let's begin here on 619. Example basic. The length across the bell or top of a mushroom jellyfish is about 5/6 of a foot. If 2 mushroom jellyfish were placed side by side, what would be the combined length? There are a couple ways to do this. You may happen to have in your pocket some models. I know somebody does, right? Or is it just me? Okay. So I could set them here. Each of these represent 1/6 of a foot. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That goes to jellyfish basic. Basic niche sway ni wananin goes to the second jellyfish. So together I now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 blocks. So there are 10 1/6 tiles, and that means it's 10/6. Now 10/6 would be 1 4/6. And I can eyeball that instead of doing it occasionally by saying, okay, 6 goes into 10 once, and there's a remainder of 4. You may need the standard algorithm for division, and that is okay. But if you can eyeball it on a number, that's all right too. And now we keep that 1, and I'm going to put it here as well. 4 and 6 have a greatest common factor of 2. 2 divided by 2 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So the combined length would be 1 2/3 feet, which would end up being 20 inches long. If I was converting it. Go ahead and write these parts in. Once you have them written in, I'll go on to the next slide. You will stay on the same page. I'll give you about 15 seconds. All right, I'm going to go ahead and clear the screen. So you see the answer key there. There's another way to answer this question. And this is the way most of you will probably do it in your real world. I mean, unless you carry a pocket full of fraction tiles. So I have 5, 6 plus 5, 6, which 5 plus 5 is 10. And 6 plus 6 is still 6 because we don't add denominators. I feel if I say it loud, you might remember later that we don't add denominators. Okay, so I have 10 sixths. Now, as you recall, 6 goes into 10 once, and there's a remainder of 4. I write that 4 as the numerator, and I keep that divisor as my denominator. So I have 1 and 4 sixths. However, 4 and 6 have a greatest common factor of 2, and they're both even numbers, so I could start there. 2 divided by 2, or 4 divided by 2 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So I have 1 and 2/3. Label it with a foot. So go ahead and write that in. Once you have that written in, you can turn to the top of page 620 for our next part of practice. All right, I'm going to go ahead and clear the drawings. And we're on example niche. The table shows how much of a book Teddy read each day. So you can see Monday 1/10, Tuesday 4/10, Wednesday 3/10, Thursday 2/10. What fraction of the book did Teddy read altogether on Tuesday and Thursday? So what is our denominator? 10, right? So that's going to stay the same. Well, right now we're just taking the answers out of the chart. So Tuesday goes right here, and it is 4/10 of a foot. Thursday, 2/10. At this point, I'm not worried about simplifying yet. I'm just worried about extracting the numbers out of here so that I can answer them here in a moment. But you do need to be able to read a chart and get these from here, especially as we start getting into that middle school experience, which isn't very far away. So you should have 4/10 and 2/10 written in here. I'm going to go ahead and clear the drawings. And now I'm going to add. But before I add, there is a helpful hint here. Follow these steps to simplify 6/10. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 10 divided by 2 is 5. It kind of probably gives you an idea of what the answer is going to be, but that's okay. So we had from the previous slide, Tuesday's 4/10, Thursday's 2/10, and 4 plus 2 is 6. However, as you may have already caught, 6 and 10 have a greatest common factor of niche, or 2. So I'm going to divide top and bottom by niche. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So Teddy read 3/5 of the book on Tuesday and Thursday. And if I was rounding that to my nearest benchmark, about half the book. Slightly more, but that's about where it would be. Go ahead and fill this in, and then we're going to practice a couple on your own. All right, I'm going to go ahead and clear the screen. All right, here are the first two I want you to practice. These are located in the book on the bottom of page 620. Write them in simplest form. And on these ones, they kind of gave you a hint if it was going to be in simplest form by putting that equal sign. To do this, please pause the video, answer it, and then unpause the video when you're ready. You may pause the video now. Welcome back. 1 plus 3 is 4. 7 plus 7 is, don't add the denominators. You just write the 7. 4 sevenths. 1/4 and 1/4 is 2/4. Obviously, these are both divisible by 2. They're even numbers. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Let's move on to the talking math. Describe a real world problem that can be solved by adding like fractions. Try doing any home improvement project ever. Just saying. Or food. You can do a lot of story problems with pizza, but then I'm gonna make myself hungry. All right, I'm gonna ask you to do these 3 problems. Key note, write each sum in simplest form. That means write it in simplest form. 4/2 is 4 over 8 equals 1/2, just so you know. All right, you may pause the video to right now, and I'll see you on the other side. Welcome back. Let's see how you did. 1/6 plus 1/6 is 2/6. That can be simplified into 1/3. When you get a 8 over 8, that can be simplified to 1 because 8 slices. If I eat 8, if there's 8 slices on the pizza and I eat all 8, I ate the whole thing. So I can just write 1. And over here, 5/9 was already simplified. I'm going to bounce you down to number 12. And I'm going to help you on this one. And then you'll do number 13 and 14. I need to find the unknown. And because there's addition, what's the opposite of addition? You're right, subtraction. So the bottom number should be easy because we do what with the denominators? Nothing. We write it down. Have you not been listening? Don't add the denominators. Now I can subtract. 2 minus 1 is 1. So my unknown is 1/3. And that checks because I can check it. 1 plus 1 is 2. 3 plus 3 is no. Just write it there. All right, go ahead and do numbers 13 and 14. And I will see you on the other side. Welcome back. Let's see how we did. I got it right. On this one, we get 9/12. And then we simplify by dividing top and bottom by 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3. Over here, it's a denominator, and you know now that you don't do anything with it because in these problems from the work, we had to have common denominators, so it's simply a 10. At this point, go ahead to your assignment. Remember to look at your homework helper if necessary. Remember to write in simplest form. Take your time. If you have any questions, please reach out to me via email, and I'd be happy to help you. Have a minute, Gishigad, Minwa, Pamapi.